We are back. You are chatting with John P. Today we are going to be talking about why I believe that Rolex is going to be increasing their supply of stainless steel sports watches and sports watches in general at Rolex boutiques and authorized dealers in the coming years and certainly coming 5-year period that I see ahead. I see some evidence out there. I want to share it with you. And this has been a topic that I've been kind of tossing around in my head because I've been seeing some evidence pop up because I'm always looking. It's a problem that we have as watch collectors, right? We're always looking at watches everywhere. We see the signs, and I want to share some of these with you. But once again, thank you so much for coming back for another episode here. I really do appreciate it. Do not forget to hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And thank you so much. I just hit the 14,000 subscriber point. I'm really happy. I'm really excited about this, and it's really fun talking with you in the comments below. So make sure to chime in there when you find it appropriate. Today on the wrist, I have a Rolex Explorer 2 16550, the earlier transitional model with the tritium. I love this thing. I have this on a prototype strap that some of you have asked about. I was working on some straps here with a manufacturer. The manufacturer kind of caved in recently, so if you've been waiting for those, very sorry. I've moved on to another manufacturer, going through another prototyping phase with them. So still have it on this one right here, but look out for this project in the coming months. And of course, what is a Rolex video without mentioning a pretty cool Rolex we have in stock at delraywatch.com is a Rolex GMT Master 2, and this is a Pepsi. So if you're familiar with the watch, we have this. Of course, this is the transitional model, the 16710, but many of you are into this, and this one's actually, I believe, a pretty good deal because we got a pretty good deal on it as well. So we're passing along that to you. So stainless steel Rolex, there's millions of videos out there. Maybe not millions, but there's a lot. I think it's fair to say we're all on kind of Rolex overload, but I'm seeing a lot of evidence to support that there is going to be an increased supply in the coming months and coming years. I don't know exactly when because this is a developing story that I'm working on, but I want to share it. And so essentially, I driving around here in South Florida, you see a lot of marketing, you see a lot of billboards for different things, but there are a lot of luxury goods on the billboards given the area. And over the last few months, I've been seeing, not only here in the Miami area, but also up into the Palm Beach area, I've been seeing billboards for stainless steel Rolex sports models. Now, let's think about this. Everybody knows what a Submariner is. And for example, just the other day, I saw a two-tone Submariner from an 80 on a billboard. Now, everyone knows about these watches, right? They're some of the most in-demand watches. The Submariner is some of the most in-demand watches you can possibly have out there, if not the most in-demand. So why would you advertise this? Everyone knows what it is. Why would you even need to advertise this? And why would you advertise this if you didn't even have one available? Wouldn't you advertise something more like a Datejust or a Cellini? Because if you walk in to, for example, Mayors and the Aventura Mall, that's pretty much what they have. A showcase full of Cellini, Datejust, some of the other ladies models sprinkled in, some precious metal Sky Dwellers, and then a bunch of display cases with absolutely nothing and no salespeople to be found. That just doesn't make sense, right? Why would you advertise things that you don't have, knowing that no one can even buy them, and people already know what they are, unless perhaps you thought you'd be getting some of these in the future. Now, most authorized dealers, they really don't know what they're going to be getting from Rolex, with the exception of what Rolex tells them they're going to be getting, and of course, the watches that they need to buy to get some of the others, like the ceramic Daytona and so on and so forth. So the AD is not totally behind this necessarily. So for those guys that are out there that said, hey, I walked in to my AD and they have no idea, and there's such a long list, and they're confused, they're upset, and I just want this watch. Okay, I mean, that's true. They might not know. But when we talk about advertising new watches, it's important to note that the brands team up with the authorized dealers for many brands, including Rolex, and especially the larger authorized dealers, and they also work together on the marketing, and by that I mean they're kind of told what to market, and the AD kind of generally says, okay, well, this is what the authorized dealer wants me to sell, so we'll probably be getting this in the future. And for authorized dealers and boutiques, it only makes sense that they're advertising things that they need to sell. And so specifically, when we're looking at something like a billboard for a Submariner, well, why would Rolex ever want to do that unless, once again, there was some anticipation or a plan to release more of these, more that surpassed the demand? And let's face it, there already is a really high demand. So one can kind of lead yourself down the path of thinking, well, perhaps there is going to be an increased supply at the dealer level for these watches. Now, let's just say, maybe these billboards are a fluke. Even when traveling in other cities, I've noticed these billboards in the last few months. But let's say that's a fluke, right? Let's say that the authorized dealers, perhaps they did not know what they were doing and they wanted to put those up there. What I recently did is, I subscribed to a magazine, The Economist, and essentially there's always a lot of watch ads in there, right? It's a magazine that's kind of tailored for the finance community, people that are into certain goods, and those goods include watches. And usually you see ads by Patek Philippe, and they're advertising watches that they need to sell, right? Like Calatrava. They usually see an ad for a Calatrava in these magazines and some of the others. You're not going to see an ad for a Nautilus because everybody knows what the Nautilus is and they can't sell them. Patek Philippe today is still advertising the Calatrava and pretty much nothing else in those magazines and some of the other magazines on the shelf that I've also looked through. But what kind of kicked off me to look into this is that when looking through a recent issue, I saw an advertisement for a Rolex Explorer polar dial, and when I saw that, I really was taken back a little bit. At first, okay, just an ad, most people would just look past it, okay, a Rolex ad. But when you think about it, Rolex doesn't need to be advertising this watch today unless they anticipated more of these to be out in the future. This is a watch that you still cannot walk into an authorized dealer or a boutique and purchase this. This is still a very in-demand watch. Polar dial Explorers, including this current version, the demand has just gone through the roof compared to it being a watch that not many people wanted to just a few years prior. So one can really think about this at a greater level and say, okay, this could be a fluke, but what about other magazines? So I went to a local grocery store and I started going through some magazines over the last few months. I'm not going to subscribe to all of these magazines for a little bit of a story I'm doing here, but I wanted to look, and while I was there anyway, I go through the magazines, I go through, some of them on the shelf, some Financial Times, some GQ, some of the others, and while I didn't write it down, one thing that I took note of is that it seems that Rolex is starting to advertise watches that might not be necessarily a stainless steel Submariner, which everyone in the world knows what it is, but some of these other fringe watches that are already difficult to get, but might not be in the future because of this marketing I'm seeing. I'm seeing less of the marketing for the Datejust and the Cellinis, which they really should be marketing, and more towards stainless steel. So there's some more evidence that I'm still putting together, and I hope to release this in a future video, but I want to know, what do you think, right? Because I'm one guy, I can only see so much. We all have our day jobs, right? But what do you see out there in the field? Do you see more Rolex advertisements for these fringe stainless steel models that are popular but not the most popular? Or perhaps you're seeing some Submariner advertisements? And especially, I'd love to know in your part of the world. That's the great thing about YouTube, right? We're all in different parts of the world, and I think together we can really put our heads together in the comments below and figure out what's going to be going on with Rolex in the future, because not only is it interesting as hobbyists, it also helps us if any of us are in the position to be buying or selling a watch, a Rolex for that matter, if you want one or perhaps you are holding on to some, it's also good to know these things. So what do you think? Do you see it out there? Leave in the comments below. I would love to hear and chat with you about this. So guys, hopefully you found this very interesting. Thanks again for watching. Do not forget the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Of course, you can find me on Instagram, The Real John P, where many of you have already, and I'm going to be releasing content there on IGTV that's going to be exclusive to Instagram, so you want to make sure to follow me there to see some of that more exclusive, more candid, more real-time watch content. And of course, DelRayWatch.com, very cool Pepsi. Thanks for watching, guys. You have been chatting with John P. Ciao.